Hey, this is Matt once again. We're back to another video, and this is a paid request from Mark. Thank you so much for that. He sent about 6 or so videos he wanted me to react to, and a few is from this guy named Tub Frog. I believe that's how it's spelled. I don't know if that's the how you pronounce it. But first, I want to give a thank you to him because I did ask him if it was okay to react to his videos. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So that was very nice of him to send me a response and replied. Again, thank him for that. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And then thank you, Mark, for the request. If anyone wants to request any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, random thought streams, commentaries, tier lists, rankings, video game playthroughs, random thought, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can if I learn how to spit my fucking saliva out correctly. Also, you may be wondering how or why reactions nowadays, I kind of do it this way where I don't have the headphones on and I crank it up so you'll hear the audio. It may not be as pronounced as usual, is because I don't really use headphones anymore because of heavy headphone usage in the past. This ear has gone a bit deaf. So nowadays, if I ever watch stuff, if I use headphones, I put them like a speaker because compressed for that long, done some damage to this ear. It's just how it goes. Anyway, thank you to Mark. This is about Peyton Manning, which I've heard of. Again, I don't mind football. I just haven't been honed in on it for decades. Just life got in the way. Interest in movies and video games was more in my direction. If there was a sport, it'd be basketball. I would gear towards. But even then, I'm so far out of the game. I mean, of course, I've heard of Peyton Manning and stuff, but if you ask me the details, I couldn't tell you. I know Peyton Manning was with the Colts for a good chunk of it. I think he's a two-time Super Bowl winner. It says from choke artist to... Get the full title. From choke artist to an NFL legend. Look forward to this, so let's see how this goes. Thanks once again to all. Pause the beginning. 3, 2, 1, pressing play.
Okay, so expectations are honestly truly a very toxic thing in sports overall, and it's never been worse than right now. Media outlets, fans, horrible YouTubers, everyone with a voice basically puts
I don't know who that
the
YouTuber
enormous amount
is.
of pressure on
I'd be tears what
damn
makes him
near every
horrible.
single player, but some face more
I mean, I know
pressure
he
than others.
says
Maybe
the
you're the number one
expectations,
pick in the
but
draft, maybe you're expected to be a franchise player, or maybe you're
what else
expected
about
to
it
win a
makes that
Super
guy
Bowl.
horrible? I don't even know who that guy is.
Anything other than guaranteed success would have your career relentlessly criticized for falling short of the expectations that you had nothing to do with. And no NFL player in the history of the game itself has ever had more expectations placed on him than Peyton Manning. What happens when you take a perfect prospect, someone bred to be a football star, and place all the expectations in the world on it? Is it even possible to exceed those expectations? Well, this is the story of Peyton Manning, the golden boy, the conductor, the sheriff, the smartest player to ever play the game of football. But still, some people to this day believe that he could have done more in his career. But that's what this video is for. By the end of it, you're going to be able to decide for yourself if you
So yeah, he won 2,
somehow
but they're probably saying he should have won 4, should have won 5.
if that's just some
I mean, it depends. Like,
propaganda.
football is not a solo
Let's start from the very
sport.
beginning when he
Depends
was
on your
just
team, depends on your defense, depends on your
Once upon a time,
offense.
you can believe it or not, Peyton Manning was born, and despite having attitude problems at the age of 2, he somehow overcame that hurdle and would go on to become a hell of an NFL prospect. He spent 4 years at Tennessee and was pretty good. You know, he shattered every passing record there was, and still owns pretty much all of them to this day, and declared for the NFL draft with pretty much nothing controversial with him at all. He had
What the hell?
former trainer accuse him of that. But those allegations proved to be false, as she changed her story many times, sent pretty horrible letters to Peyton's mom, and Peyton was just mooning his friend. So that was like kind of the only blemish
That figures.
on Peyton Manning's resume so
He
far.
mooned a
Let's
friend,
say that
and
guy's
then she
generational
wanted
today.
some money out of it.
Peyton Manning was the generational prospect, okay?
See,
this very day, Mel Kiper has Peyton Manning ranked as the
okay,
third
on a
best
side
quarterback
note,
prospect in
that's
the
the issue
history of
with when
football, only behind
people
Andrew
accuse
Luck
stuff.
and John Elway. He's
There are
clearly had
people that are
everything. His
very
dad Archie was a
legitimate,
pretty good
but then
quarterback and
they
had
get
NFL knowledge to pass
hurt
down.
because you
Peyton
have
had
other
leadership
people that
qualities already, a passion
showcase a
for
lot
the
of
game,
bullshit.
unmatched knowledge, and could have
And that
easily declared for the
bullshit will make the
1997
people
draft.
who
But
have legitimate
first,
claims
the
look
Jets,
more
well, I mean,
questionable
Jets.
because of the
Peyton
history
Manning
of these
actually
other
seemingly was
people
a good
acting like
rose to be
idiots.
playing for the Jets for some godforsaken reason, but the football gods stepped in, and the Jets told the Manning family they couldn't guarantee they'd take Peyton first overall, and so he went back to school, which, to be fair, he might have done anyway. So Peyton declared for the draft in 1998, and despite being, like I said, the third best quarterback prospect ever, Washington State's Ryan Leaf also still goes down today as the eighth best prospect ever. But honestly, the decision was never that close behind closed doors. Despite the public having no idea what was going down, Colts management, who held the number one pick, knew they wanted Peyton Manning. When they interviewed Ryan Leaf, there were times he straight up didn't show up to meetings or acted immature, clearly preferring to live in San Diego and play for the Chargers. But when Peyton showed up to his interview, he told the Colts, "If you draft me, we will win a championship. And if you don't, I promise I will come back and kick your ass." So they were sold. The Colts drafted Peyton Manning first overall, and the Chargers took Ryan Leaf second. And it was all just coming together. This is what the NFL loves more than anything, a good old-fashioned rivalry. It's what brings in the eyeballs. And Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning, two elite prospects, were set up to be gladiators against one another for the next 15 years at least. And in the preseason,
Chargers
too,
Leaf win
Ryan Leaf
preseason
got
battle
the
over
better of Peyton
Colts.
Manning. Barely. They both were kind of bad, but Ryan did outplay Peyton technically, as the Chargers also destroyed the Colts 33-3.
Jesus.
That's it. That's Ryan Leaf's only highlight, a preseason game. But back to Peyton for a second, because his first game in the NFL was against a friend, I guess.
So from the gate, he was able to.
Dan Marino and the
The
Miami
fuck?
Dolphins. Now at this point,
Oh,
Marino
okay,
was
I'm guessing
37
that he had to
and
blur
closer to prime pickleball
because
age, and his
copyright.
movie star days were
I know
well
how that
behind him,
goes.
but Manning was excited and set the tone for the rest of the season.
Which is ridiculous because why is this some you have to blur, some you don't have to blur? It's not like these game. I don't know.
Basically just kind of Peyton Manning spraying and praying for the whole season, as by year's end, he broke the record for both interceptions
Like the sound
in a season
effect
by a
there.
rookie and touchdowns in a season by a rookie. So there was clearly good and bad, but Peyton Manning loved football, and at the age of just
Damn,
22,
interception
he became
record. That's
a
not the
leader
record you
team
want. That's the
already,
wrong
and
record.
It also was obvious that in the offseason he was going to do everything in his forehead to improve, and he did. But sadly, Ryan Leaf did not. Ryan Leaf liked painkillers. I mean, you hate to hear it, but I guess congratulations to him nowadays for turning his life around, because he looks healthy and happy, so good for him. But in San Diego, he was, shall we say, immature.
You don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off!
And after their much anticipated
The hell? Was that actual footage of the guy? What the fuck was his major bell problem?
got his first win, the Colts
What is his major
also ended up
problem?
winning 3 games that year. And
I guess he answered pills.
never face Peyton Manning
Major malfunction.
again, as his career would be infamously known as an absolute failure. And the surefire thing of this rivalry was taken away from the NFL, but who will come fill the mantle left behind to be Peyton's biggest rival? We need to find somebody who can just somehow challenge Peyton Manning too at the same time by just actual physical skills alone, because remember, hey, not yet. Anyhow, so this Colts team was expected to be pretty terrible by even the head coach and Jim Mora, who before his rookie season basically told Peyton, "Look, son, you're going to get demolished. This team sucks," which is certainly a move, but I think it actually helped develop the young sheriff in this situation, as it helped him keep a healthy perspective and maintained his confidence, which by year's end was actually paying off. Like, I don't know if this is some crazy revelation, but I've watched a fair amount of football, most of that bad football as a Raider fan, and I can tell you from the eyeball test, this Colts team was not that bad as the year dragged on, specifically. And the stats back up my dumbass too, as from weeks 13 through 17, they had a point differential of negative 2.6, which would have them hovering around a 500 team, as their offense averaged a ridiculous 26.6 points per game, with Peyton Manning and running back Marshall Faulk just tearing things up. It's just, the defense allowed 29.2, so that was a bit of an issue. In 1999, though, Marshall Faulk was gone.
Like it says, that was solo game. You need, if you don't have your defense working, you can make the base points you want. They'll make just the same or more.
Just a rookie, and would go on to make the Hall of Fame. So that was, pretty good. And along with Marvin Harrison, who was already in his prime, these three guys would form the best offense the NFL had to offer in the 2000s. And in 1999, Peyton Manning became the sheriff.
That's what I'm talking about. Blitz our ass again.
The 1999 Colts simply had the greatest one-year turnaround the NFL has ever seen to that point. The defense still had some work to do, but Peyton Manning went balls to the walls in just his second season. He was top 3 in passing yards and passing touchdowns, and chilled out with the picks too, as the Colts won 13 games and an era was born. Peyton Manning was doing it. He was living up to the expectations beautifully, and now it was playoff time. And for pretty much the last time in Peyton Manning's career, expectations were high still, but nobody was really going to be pissed if the Colts, bowed out to a more experienced, older team in the first round. But, that didn't happen. Instead, Peyton Manning absolutely sucked. And add that on to Eddie George absolutely plunging his big burly shoulders into the Colts defense every damn play, and yeah, the Colts got bounced in the divisional round, which hurt, but they had plenty of time. I mean, let's be honest, everyone has to get punched in the gut before they achieve true greatness, and although Peyton missed out on plenty of chances to go win this game himself, he'll learn. It just didn't come in 2000 either, as the Colts weren't exactly as good as they were the year prior, and were bounced in the first playoff game again, this time to Jay Fiedler and legendary one-game wonder Lamar Smith, who ran for 209 yards on 40 carries.
Jesus.
Imagine if the Lions lost in the divisional round last year because Jeremy McNichols ran for 210. So, again, this was disappointing, and yes, Indianapolis fans were starting to get restless with Peyton in the playoffs, but they had time. They literally had all the time in the world. Without Ryan Leaf breathing down his neck, there was almost no quarterback in the entire AFC that was even going to come close to challenging Peyton Manning. We are talking about the #1 pick in the draft here, so...
Well, again, that's what's going to make fans mad, is that it's the #1 pick, and yet we're not winning. Again, because of the other factors. But, I mean, if you don't, if you fuck up in the playoffs, the fans are not going to let it go.
Most important games in NFL history that also kind of didn't matter at all took place when in Week 3, the Patriots played the Colts. And Peyton Manning, being the good dude he was, introduced himself to a young kid who was nervous before his first NFL start and said, "Hey, I'm Peyton. Nice to meet you." And the kid responded with, "I'm Tom Brady. Nice to meet you too." So once again, did this game or even this moment really matter? I mean, from a statistical perspective, no. But the day that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning met each other would birth the greatest rivalry the NFL has ever and will ever have. I said it. There will never be another NFL rivalry as great as Brady versus Manning. And there kind of can't be. Somehow both Manning and Brady were very similar but very different. The perfect foils to each other.
I think Tom Brady won that rivalry, but that's just my guess.
Passion to improve and push those around them to do the same. They both had to climb up the depth chart in college and even had to overtake quarterbacks in front of them that would go on to play in the MLB. So that's, weird. But I think Patriots linebacker Teddy Bruschi said it best when describing the Brady versus Manning rivalry, saying, "It's a kid that had a chip on his shoulder, was the 199th pick, and nobody expected anything out of him. And there was a guy also that was given the keys to the kingdom. A lot of credit to Peyton that he's taken those keys and he's still driving. The keys are well-deserved, but Brady made the keys. He wasn't given them. That's a different approach, a different mentality. Look, just because you got it out the mud doesn't mean it's not easy to drive the bus when handed the keys. When the whole world is expecting you to be nothing short of the second coming of John Elway, the pressure is going to get to you. And Peyton Manning was about to learn way more about the word pressure, because now the media was getting restless. In 2001, the Colts failed to make the playoffs for the second time in the Peyton Manning
5-game
era,
losing
as they went
streak.
6-10 with Edgar and James battling
Ouch.
injuries, and Peyton had his worst season since his rookie year, leading to Jim Mora getting fired, but he did say the thing.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
2002, Peyton Manning's chance to grab his narrative by the throat. And
I mean, it's I guess a
the
legitimate
full-time defensive-minded
worry.
coach from Tampa, who had his shortcomings but was a solid coach. And now that the divisions realigned, the Colts had a much easier schedule.
I mean, legitimate worry was just so people. I didn't see that, but that's a pretty funny clip. I hope we win a game.
With their underdog quarterback, Tom Brady at the helm.
Again, I just wonder why the NFL will allow certain things to be, I don't know. Again, I'm guessing that's why you had to blur some stuff because they got blocked.
Like I said, the best QB in the league. Terrifying, I know, but he did throw for 4,000 plus yards for the 4th straight year. The Colts won a lot of football games again. Cool, but all eyes went towards the playoffs. Could Peyton Manning actually win in the playoffs? Hell, somebody's got to challenge the Patriots. So on the road in the wild card, Peyton Manning and the Colts went out there and just got absolutely buried by the New York Jets. Peyton Manning, like, how do I say this nicely?
2 interceptions.
He was fucking dog shit, man. It's not all his faults. I mean, you see the stats here, though. He did go 14 for 31, 137 yards, no touchdowns and 2 picks, leading the Colts to under 70 yards in the first half. But I guess to be somewhat fair, the Colts got killed on every level of the game. That Peyton could have actually played well, and it wouldn't have mattered, as they lost another playoff game, 41-0, with Manning and the Colts getting sympathy from Chad Pennington. And so those expectations came creeping back in. Really? This is the next John Elway? I mean, he's good, but like the regular season doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years at this point. 5 seasons in the NFL, and Peyton Manning still doesn't have a single playoff win. He's a perennial loser. Sure,
Wow, not even a single playoff win. Think about that. Yeah. That's the thing. All those doubts creep into you more and more and more, and then you start thinking, am I a fraud? Am I a fake?
That was the narrative back then. It got to the point where even his own kicker was piling onto the Colts' misery. It was bad. He was getting compared to other guys like Dan Marino, and I guess Phil Mickelson, a golfer who at the time...
Yeah, that's the thing. Dan Marino never won, which is a shame. I mean, Dan Marino is still considered one of the best, as well as Peyton Manning. But Peyton at least did win one. Dan Marino, sadly, I don't think ever won. Like, you never hear about the Miami Dolphins anymore.
Once again, somehow, still, this was not Peyton Manning's final form.
But when you did is when Dan Marino was there.
Peyton Manning was good, and by good, I mean once again he was the best quarterback in football. And had a 4-game stretch in the first half of the season where he averaged 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick.
But the Patriots have people like Gronkowski and other folks to help pave the way for those Patriots wins as well.
6-touchdown game in that span. The sheriff was in town now, y'all, crushing the world beneath his mighty dogs. But once again, in the back of not only Manning's mind, but in the mind of others too, was the same thing. Could he do it in the playoffs? That's all that mattered. He even won the MVP this year, but, you know, it was co-MVP with Steve McNair, so who cares? And when the Colts won 12 games, once again, it was whatever. They needed to prove they were a powerhouse in the postseason. And in the wild card versus the Broncos, with all that pent-up rage and anger of the last 5 years of playoff failure, Peyton Manning dropped his magnum opus. 22 for 26. 377 yards.
Damn.
5 touchdowns. No picks. And a passer rating of 158.3. Perfect passer rating. The best
There you go.
playoff game any quarterback has ever played. Children, kids, I feel like it's getting a little repetitive at this point, and I feel like I'm saying this every single video, but please, 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 please watch the highlights for this game, okay? This is football at its purest. There is no defense in the history of anything that could have stopped Peyton Manning from ragdolling the Broncos in the first half.
Damn.
Literally perfect. What more can I say? What a terrible time to be a Peyton Manning hater, too. Because after he flipped it over his back while he took a shit on the Broncos, he played another gross game in a 38-31 win versus the Chiefs, going for an efficient 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, he did it. He finally shut everybody up. And
Did it say
he made it
30-31?
to
Because it says
the AFC
38 to
Championship
31.
game.
Maybe I
Even
missed the
better,
8
for
part.
all of our entertainment, Peyton Manning was going to face off against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. So, this is going to be great. This is going to be so much fun. Am I right? Tom? Tom? The NFL salivated. Tom Brady, the Super Bowl legend already, versus Peyton Manning. One guy had zero expectations coming into the league. The other, expectations to rule the world. And what happened? Well, this guy fucked it all up. I mean, this Colts team was steamrolling everyone. Like, nobody had an answer for Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, and the boys. But this is why Bill Belichick is, a solid coach. And unfortunately, he kind of had experience going against great offenses for a hot minute. And look, I think the narrative for Peyton being a choke artist should have died on this game, because the modern NFL literally would not exist today if this game didn't happen. Basically, Bill Belichick tried to have Patriots DBs throw off Indianapolis wide receivers on routes, which eventually would lead to the creation of the timeout rule, except that's not the entire story. Because in all honesty, yes, Belichick's scheme deserves a lot of credit for stifling an offense that looked like they could average 50 a game, but Peyton Manning also just played terribly. Ty Law literally outplayed Peyton Manning 1-for-1. That is why the Colts lost this game. Did the Patriots get away with some illegal contact? Yeah, but Peyton is the reason they lost this one. He choked, but that doesn't make his journey to this point invalid. It's just Tom Brady wins football games, dude. It's how it is. And round 2 between these guys would arrive soon enough, though, so Peyton would have a chance for revenge. 2004. So this is it. After an offseason of continuing to grind away, Peyton Manning came out, took control of the entire artillery of weapons he had at his disposal, supercharged it with smoldering embers, and just destroyed the league this season. And the man who ignited this disgusting season was Tom. The Patriots beat them in week 1, showing off their rings, but from there, they pissed him off. And listen, this is the brilliance of Peyton Manning. What's so fun about him is there is actually a great argument you can make that his best season is multiple different years. But for me, 2004 is the most impressive of his entire career. Given the era, Peyton Manning threw for 49 touchdowns, breaking Dan Marino's single-season touchdown record at the time, because we'll get there, he breaks it again. He then only threw 10 picks all year, averaged 10.24 yards gained per attempt, and had a passer rating of 121.1. I don't need to add any further commentary, right? Patrick Mahomes in 2024 had one game, including the postseason, all year long, over Peyton Manning's average passer rating. Peyton's second worst game in 2004 would have been Mahomes' second best. And the craziest thing, the wildest stat from 2004 for the forehead was his touchdown percentage. It was 9.9. Whenever the elongated craniumed humanoid called out a goddamn play and dropped back, there was instantly a 10% chance he just threw a touchdown, no matter where he was. And in NFL history, of all quarterbacks with over 400 pass attempts in a season, nobody has even come close to touching Peyton's 9.9 touchdown percentage. Not even close. So yeah, casual back-to-back MVPs for Peyton. Damn near average 303 touchdowns a game. That's how it is. Peyton Manning is good at football, alright? Do you get that? But hey, it's the playoffs, and Peyton Manning is still a choker, goddammit. I don't care what he does in the regular season. How many rings does he have, huh? Huh, tough guy? Well, in the wild card versus the Broncos, I just miss Peyton, bro. 460 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 145 passer rating with a pick. A top 3 game.
I mean, you can't deny the talent, though. You cannot deny
it
it.
was just so fun. It was ridiculous. Nobody could compete with Peyton Manning one-on-one. Nobody could do what he could do. Oh, man. Another year, another brutal loss where Peyton Manning played like dog shit. I mean, at this point, maybe everyone was right. Maybe it's not just variance, and Peyton Manning was actually a choker, because Tom Brady and the Patriots would face off against the Colts. And they outplayed them once again, and this time this game was never close. The Colts failed to score a single touchdown all day, as Manning, who had a stretch of games during the regular season where he was throwing 5 touchdowns a game, and even resting in the fourth quarter, couldn't even throw one versus this Belichick defense as he went home again.
Colts simply are not the same
With
team.
the most one-and-done playoff appearances ever, had a 2-10 record.
6 games in a row they lost.
Including 2 back-to-back demoralizing playoff losses. And people were just tired of excuses. Somehow, 4 of their 5 losses of the whole season in 2004 were outdoors. So
There's no excuses whatsoever, and I would never accept anybody saying the weather's the reason we lost.
If it's not in a dome or sunny outside, the flowers are blooming, and the Colts can't even pick up a single first down. But Tom was just built for that. Okay, 2005, and out of his ass, the Sheriff pulled out another one of the best seasons in NFL history. The counting stats weren't as crazy, but he went 13-0 to start the year. Like, even though the playoff success still wasn't there, the man was becoming the best regular season quarterback ever. This Colts team also may be their best they've ever had as well. The defense was actually good.
13-0, that's nothing to sneeze at.
The playoffs happened, as they tend to, and well, let me tell you what it took to stop this Colts team, alright? 2005 divisional round, Colts versus Captain Fatty, leader of men. And, okay, Peyton Manning was bad again. Let me get that out of the way. The Steelers looked like they were going to blow out the Colts, but to his credit, Peyton battled. Now, if Troy Polamalu didn't drop this free pick, the Steelers probably win this game convincingly, but he dropped it, and the Colts were very much in it. The crowd was alive. Peyton was dialed in, and the defense just needed to make a stop, which they did. But then this whole sequence happened where the Steelers had the ball near the 1, fumbled the ball, and it's picked up by Chris Harper, who gets tackled by Ben Roethlisberger. He let Ben Roethlisberger tackle him, and the only reason that pretty much happened was because hours prior, his wife accidentally stabbed him with a fillet knife while waving it at him during an argument. Okay? Alright.
Okay.
At least the Colts have the ball now and can make magic happen.
Never thought a stabbing incident would be part of the fucking...
That's what Peyton did. The whole game script changed just like that, but Peyton couldn't pick up 2 yards, which meant a 46-yard field goal was the only thing that set apart the Colts from the AFC title game and going home. He missed it. The kicker that talks so much to his coach and quarterback missed, admittedly not the easiest kick in the world. And
Right.
The Colts went home again. How much more could they take at this point? Like, honestly.
You can't talk shit about your quarterback and then not be able to do your fucking job. I mean, like you said, 46 yards is a lot. I mean, that's not something to sneeze at. Which I don't know what the phrase I keep fucking saying it. But you can't talk shit about your quarterback, then you can't pull it off.
Crazy. Then in the wild card, they played a pretty underwhelming Chiefs team, and Peyton had 3 picks, but they still won somehow. As despite allowing a 100-yard rusher in every game of the 2006 season, they clamped the Chiefs' strong run game. And with Bob Sanders returning from injury, who was a hell of a safety, the Colts defense was carrying. In the divisional round versus the Ravens, Peyton was terrible again. He had 170 yards and 2 picks. No tutties, too, but they still won. So in some sick way, this has been Peyton's most successful postseason thus far. And that's another thing that will come up in the future. When he's bad, things kind of go his way. But for this next game, they would need it badly. In the AFC Championship, Lord Vader awaited. The NFL did their whole marketing thing, being like, oh, who's going to win, Tom or Peyton? But, like, it's hard to call this a rivalry. At this point, it was like Allen versus Mahomes nowadays. Technically, it's a rivalry on paper, but one dude just came to this game with a 16-inch titanium strap on, and the other guy just brought the loot. So,
Damn, what a visual.
You're like 30 minutes into this video.
What a
You
visual.
get it at this point. Tom good in the playoffs, Peyton bad in the playoffs. But hey, the game was in Indianapolis now, so cold weather was not a factor, and maybe there was a chance that Peyton...
Manning's pass is intercepted. It's Asante Samuel going in untouched.
Again, 2 times in a row. After last year versus Pittsburgh, Manning shot himself again, and the Colts just... I'm tired of saying it, but it's over. It was over again. Really, Peyton? You're the 2-time MVP? You have to do something. You can't let this opportunity slip away. No more excuses. This isn't even about expectations. This is about stepping up and doing your job. You're the leader of this team. You're the one people are relying on. And finally, Peyton Manning stepped up. And in the second half, played the best half of his entire career. And from there, you could consider this game the best in Colts history.
Another running play up the in for the touchdown. Colts have taken the lead for the first time in the AFC Championship game.
Peyton didn't get all the touchdowns himself, but he led the Colts to 38 points.
Very nice.
With 1 minute remaining, they held their first lead of the game. They were 1 minute away. 1 minute away.
They don't win,
from
right?
the Super Bowl. But at the same time, Manning knew there was a good chance that he would just lose this game. I mean, look at this shot of Peyton right here. This is a man who is desperate. The only thing on his mind is that he
Come on, have hope,
needs his
man. Have
defense
hope.
to make
Stay
one stop.
positive.
Because Tom
Positivity,
Brady
just like
is on the
HIV.
other
Be
side of the
positive.
field. Please, Tom, just let him have this for fuck's sake. And
Be
then
positive.
It happened. Tom Brady threw a pick. Peyton let his guard down for just a second, and
There
the
you
narrative
go.
that haunted him for so long was dead. He did it. He won in the playoffs. Not only did he make the Super Bowl, not only did he complete at the time the greatest championship comeback ever, but he did it versus Tom Brady and the Patriots. And after that, I mean, come on, the Super Bowl seemed like lightweight. He went from Tom Brady as his opponent to Sexy Rexy. But this game wasn't going to be free, though. I mean, this Bears team was good, obviously. They were just challenged on offense. But this game would be a downpour, too, which apparently was Peyton's weakness. But nothing was going to stop Peyton from getting his. And although he wasn't perfect, in the rain with those conditions versus an elite defense, you can't ask for much more than 250 yards and a touchdown. As although they did fall behind early, the Colts leaned on the run game that picked up nearly 200 yards, and after it was all over, at the end of the 2006 season, Peyton Manning was a Super Bowl champion. And nobody could say anything anymore. The expectations had been achieved. The pressure was gone. The sheriff was on top of
Well,
the
there you go. Finally
right?
won.
After another great regular season in 2007, they faced the Chargers in the divisional round. And even though Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson both got injured in this game, they allowed Billy Bullock to score the game-winning touchdown. The Colts and Peyton Manning lost a chance to play the undefeated Patriots because of Billy Bullock. And then again next season, despite winning 9 in a row, they dropped their first postseason game to San Diego once more, with Peyton Manning putting the game on himself, saying they just didn't do enough. So this is the question I'm going to ask you to think about during this video now. Is one win, surrounded by pure disappointment, still living up to expectations, or could Peyton have done more? He won another MVP, by the way, in 2008, and then in 2009, the Colts fielded another team that very easily could
Well,
be known as their best ever. With
is
Jim
one
Caldwell
win
at head
good?
coach now,
Pretty much,
the team
is one
could
Super
have
Bowl
won
good
16
enough?
games, with no doubt. They could have gone 16-0, but they decided to rest their starters to end the season and forego the undefeated title, which
Yeah, I think about all the
players may want badly, but why risk it?
the list of
Your team, right?
great
And the decision
quarterbacks that
was
never
out,
won,
with the
like Dan
four-time
Marino.
league MVP still obliterating
So
everything and now
there's-
healthy and rested. The Colts
He'll be
blew out
considered a
the
great
Ravens
quarterback.
in the first 2
But
rounds.
yes, there will always
Now,
be
in the
dialogue that it should have been more. There always will be.
Wait, no, never mind. No Tom this year. Okay, I guess it's Super Bowl time then. Well, I'll be damned. There was no Tom this year. And Peyton Manning was back in the Super Bowl just like that. So, okay. At this point, people had started to accept Peyton Manning as a guy that wasn't just a pure choker. It turns out that a good football player sometimes played good in the postseason too. What a concept. But despite taking an early lead in the Super Bowl, the Colts lost this game because, well, the Saints made the biggest gamble in Super Bowl history, kicking an onside kick to start the second half. And it worked, stealing a valuable possession from Peyton Manning. And a 75-yard pick six from the Sheriff would end the game. And Peyton era in Indianapolis would sadly soon follow. So at this point, Peyton Manning had
Damn.
basically conquered his expectations, right? He was a football deity. This was a guy that it took exactly the best defensive players of all time to even stifle him. Ed Reed and Ray Lewis told stories of how they would set up a coverage, and then they would see Peyton go like, oh, Omaha, left, right, Rico, Suave, or whatever, and then they would adjust their coverages. Then they would adjust it to a dummy coverage, adjust their coverage again, another dummy coverage, and then with 1 second left on the play clock, they would go to their real coverage.
I love all the multiple
Insane
tapes
stuff.
under the
That
Tom
is
Brady
what it
picture
took
in the
to have a
back. I like the
chance against
nice little
prime Peyton
detail.
Manning. It was art to watch him play. But 2010 would be his last season as a Colt. And sadly, it ended in a rough way. The Colts lost in the wild card to the Sanchez, who would also go on to beat Tom Brady that year, as Indianapolis fell 16-17. And also, for what it's worth, in Week 16, Peyton played the Raiders in what would be his last road regular season game as a Colt. And I got to see him destroy us in person, so that was fun. But yeah, this was it. The Sheriff missed the entire 2011 season, as he had a total of 4 neck surgeries. 4. And without him,
Jesus Christ.
bottomed out. They lost their first 13
One's bad
games
enough.
of the season,
4?
and Peyton Manning had this team, this organization on his back.
I'd be done. I'd be like, I'd give up. 4 surgeries? Jesus.
What is the Colts management going to do? I mean, they had the number 1 overall pick in the draft now, and Andrew Luck was right there for the taking. And meanwhile, in private workouts, it looked like Peyton could barely throw a ball 10 yards. And so the Colts and Manning saw no future together anymore. And prior to the 2012 season, Peyton Manning, at the age of 35, had his career in jeopardy and was cut by the Indianapolis Colts. After a wild sweepstakes thing, he ended up signing with the Denver Broncos. But now at this point, expectations were completely different from what they were when he was a youngling in Indianapolis, because he proved so much. Now it was just, could he continue his career as even an above average to elite tier quarterback? But before we get into how that turned out, we got to talk about his craziest controversy of his entire career. Did Peyton Manning use HGH? Listen, I have my own opinion on this whole Peyton Manning HGH thing, but I won't share that here. Instead, I'll just lay out the facts. So, it is 100% confirmed, without a shadow of a doubt, even by Peyton Manning's legal team, that HGH, which stands for human growth hormone, which is banned for NFL use, was sent to the home of Peyton Manning. That happened. That also lined up with his 35-year-old quarterbacking season, coming off of a very serious injury, except his lawyers claim that the drug was prescribed to his wife for a diagnosed condition that was never revealed to the public. And this was enough for the NFL to decide that Peyton Manning was innocent, and there was inconclusive evidence that he used a growth hormone of any kind. Just, something to think about, because it's just hard to wrap your brain around what Peyton Manning did in Denver at the age of 36. Dude was a geezer. But in 2012, in an even more pass-happy era, Peyton Manning continued to be top 3 in the game. Almost 40 touchdowns and 10 picks on the season is not okay.
Yeah, I can see why people have their doubts that,
Denver had the league's best offense and played against
you know,
Flacco in the divisional round.
they have that kind of strength to throw that ball over and over again. Especially in a guy that's had 4 neck surgeries to be able to move.
Started out any better. Peyton didn't even have to touch the field, and the Broncos were already up 7-0. And then, when he saw the field, the Omaha guy kind of instantly threw a pick 6, so that lead was gone. But from here, it was a beautiful duel. Squint your eyes a little bit, and you think we were seeing prime Manning versus Brady, but instead, it was better. Manning versus Flacco. And after dropping 35 points, holding the ball with 2 minutes left, up 7, the Broncos decided to play conservatively and chose to rely on their defense to not give up exactly a bomb for a
Into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacoby Jones.
absolute agony. But the game was far from over. Was this deflating? Yes, believe it or not. But they continued to play even more conservatively, too, electing to do nothing with 30 seconds left, 2 timeouts, and Peyton goddamn Manning on the field. But Peyton still had a chance. Regardless, on 3rd and 1, once again, the Broncos decided to keep the ball out of his hands as they ran it. But somehow there were more chances. And finally, the nail in the Broncos' coffin came when Peyton broke the cardinal rule of quarterbacking and threw a pick across his body. And Justin Tucker would caress a kick right down the middle, and Peyton Manning went home, only to somehow come back even stronger in 2013. A lot of Peyton's records had fallen to this point. Tom took a lot of them. But in 2013, Peyton Manning was angry again, and he was ready to carry the Broncos as far as he could take them, shattering every single pass passing record, trading in his life essence in the process. Again. Twice, dude. I mean, how many players in sports can say they've broken an all-time single-season record, like touchdowns in a year, 2 times, a decade apart, too? As in 2013, Manning famously threw for 55 touchdowns in a season at 37 years old. That may never be broken. He also led the league in passing yards, too. Like, bruh, are we serious? This man averaged 342 passing yards a game. Like, his betting lines were around 360.5 passing yards and 3.5 touchdowns a game. I can't believe it. Yes, this offense was loaded with guys like Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, but what Peyton Manning did in 2013 is unreplicatable. It can't be done again. But for a guy like Peyton, this was just another thing to add to his resume, which can be argued to be the greatest in NFL history. So the Broncos won 13 games in 2013, had a little bit of a scare versus the Chargers.
I don't know. I keep thinking we're going
to the AFC
Yep.
Championship game.
I knew that was what happened. I was just
Genuinely how? Tom and Bill versus Peyton. Again, let's do it. Yeah, and this time Peyton convincingly had the better team. So we'll see what happens. And, once Aqib Talib went down for the Patriots, the Broncos offense could not be contained. Denver was just so balanced. Their defense kept getting better, and the offense, by the numbers, quite possibly, still is the greatest single-season offensive unit ever. But, yeah, it was just a shame that this game wasn't even close, but it just wasn't. Denver was in control the whole time. Tom couldn't figure out their defense, and the Broncos ended this game early in the third quarter, basically, as the final score of 26-16 is deceptive as hell. It wasn't close, and Peyton Manning was back in the Super Bowl as a Denver Bronco this time. And do I even need to talk about the Super Bowl? It's a bit of a sore subject for Peyton, I think. Yeah, we do, though. So the first snap went over his head, and the game ended right there. This game was supposed to be a classic, though. It was supposed to be an all-timer, and it probably should have been, too. The best defense in the league versus the best offense. And, well, the defense won, as this game was one of the most humiliating blowouts in Super Bowl and even playoff history. And remember, we're past playoff disappointment at this point. That's sort of a given now, but people were wondering, how long could Peyton Manning
43-8.
Yes,
Holy shit.
amazing somehow, as he won another MVP in
43-8.
most ever, but could he really keep going? Well, yeah,
God damn.
2014 was a step back for Manning. He continued to stay healthy, but his play declined rapidly as the year went on, as in weeks 13 through 17,
The body can only take so much.
threw 5 touchdowns to
Can only take so
6
much.
interceptions, coming out to a passer rating of 78.7. And sadly, the gunslinger, the sheriff, the best regular season quarterback of all time, just couldn't fit his forehead in his helmet anymore. And come January, the Broncos really should have made him a game manager, but they chose not to. And in a loss in the divisional round to the one and only Colts and Andrew Luck, Peyton threw close to 50 passes and only put up 1 touchdown. Looking ahead to 2015 as his last year to ride off into the sunset. Enjoy maybe an 8-8 season and let the endorsement and commercial money flow in from there. But Peyton Manning is just built different. Although his body was beginning to finally betray him, he still had the sharpest mind in the game, and his sheer determination would get him through the season. Until it didn't. Because after a few months of lackluster play at best and bottom 5 QB play at worst, Peyton Manning played the worst game a quarterback can possibly play. When versus the Chiefs, he went 5 for 20, 35 yards, no touchdowns, 4 picks, and a passer rating of 0.
Jesus.
0. Now, instead of just retiring on the spot there, he was put on the injury list and watched as his backup Brock Osweiler sort of revived the team, even beating Thomas in his absence. So now, come playoff time, the Broncos were a whole new team than they were just a few seasons ago. In 2013, they had an all-time offense, but now it was the defense that was doing not only the heavy lifting, but was doing everything. And with Peyton Manning coming back for the playoffs, Von Miller knew that the defense had some work cut out for them, which they got done barely versus Pittsburgh. And then in Peyton Manning's final season, he got one more battle in the AFC Championship game. Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady for one more duel, and it was perfect. It's just funny. This was the
I
last
mean,
Brady versus Manning.
Broncos
The
won
two
before
guys that
against
have
Patriots, so
defined
we'll
the
see.
NFL for about 20 years and are number one and number two on most all-time quarterback rankings. This was a game that, regardless of the outcome, would shape NFL history, but it was just not how it used to go. Early on, it was 7-6. Manning had a good drive, and then a turnover basically led to a Patriots touchdown. But remember, this defense from Denver was all-time great, and Peyton Manning did what he had to do. I guess he turned back the clock a little bit and played his best game of the season damn near, and let Tom Brady just get terrorized by their defense. Malik Jackson, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware. Tom was in hell, but he is Tom. He just couldn't do it on this day. And the final blow of the greatest rivalry in NFL history would be thrown by Peyton Manning, as Denver held on to beat Tom Brady. It was kind of all in the defense, though. But the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning would be going to their second Super Bowl in 3 years. And although Peyton was so far removed,
I mean, he beat Tom Brady's team twice. There's that.
Well, in the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning put together a masterpiece. He went, no, he didn't. I wish that would have been sick if Peyton just dropped like 450 yards and 4 touchdowns.
13
out of nowhere.
passes,
Alas, though,
141
that did not
yards.
occur. But Denver's defense continued their all-time tear, despite Manning throwing for 141 yards, the least ever for a quarterback in a Super Bowl win, and a pick with also no touchdowns. Denver overwhelmed the 15-win Panthers with experience, grit, and physical football. Von Miller was the best player in the field, and they did it. The Denver Broncos won Super Bowl 50. Peyton Manning, for all his years carrying the Colts offense,
There you go, now
was
two.
still falling short in the Super Bowl when there was zero expectations on him. This was the season it all came together. You could argue that his 2 Super Bowl winning seasons weren't anywhere near his best as a pro, but now he won another Super Bowl and retired following the win as a 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, 5-time MVP, a Hall of Famer, and potentially the quarterback GOAT. But let me circle back to the question that I asked in the intro. Did Peyton Manning fall short of his expectations? Well, is 1 Super Bowl enough for you in his prime? Yes, he has the one in 2015, but I think in terms of impact on the actual game, his 2006 Super Bowl is weighted more than 2015 for sure. But, you know, from 1999 to 2015, nobody threw more passing touchdowns than Peyton Manning. Nobody threw more passing yards than Peyton Manning, and only Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson have a higher passer rating in that span too, but Peyton also threw thousands of more passes than them. And to me, he is the smartest player to ever play the game. You could argue Tom, but I'm not saying you're wrong, but also for what it's worth, even though Peyton Manning had this huge playoff choker narrative behind him, he has a winning record versus Tom Brady in the playoffs. So I don't know. Maybe the most hyped up player in NFL history, the player given the throne as the next NFL superstar before he was even drafted, somehow not only lived up to his wild expectations, but exceeded them. He became an NFL legend.
There you go.
Anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe, because I got a lot of videos on the channel just like this one. And if you did like this video, watch this video I did a few days back on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a big one, you know, maybe watch it in increments, but I put a lot of work in that, and I don't know, it's pretty good, trust me. So thanks to all my Patreons for playing.
Well, first off, that was a really cool video. Second off, sorry if you heard that noise. It's my stomach rumbling. I should have eaten before it, but I was getting invested and involved with it, so I just ignored it. So if you did hear it, I apologize. Shut up, stomach. God damn. The stomach is a Tom Brady fan, so that's why the stomach keeps rumbling. You know, shut up. So, stomach. Anyway, that was a cool video. I did like all the details involved. Very well edited. I know a lot of times I was kind of silent because I was just listening to what he was saying. I didn't want to miss what he was saying. But yeah, very well done video. Guy definitely knows what he's doing. And as for Peyton Manning, I mean, the guy said it best. I mean, I'm sure the Colts, the fan base maybe expected more. I mean, there's a lot of people that expect more. I'm sure they expected more Super Bowls than just one. for the Colts with all the hype and all this stuff. But at the same time, he threw well. He broke records. He became a 2-time champion. Beat Tom Brady more than once to get to the Super Bowl, and you know, you can't deny that. You cannot deny that talent. You cannot deny that grit. Especially, after 4 neck surgeries and all that stuff, and still to go on to win a Super Bowl. If that's how he retired, that's a good way to retire. So, can't deny that. So, he's a good one. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.